You must have seen the syllabus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all the subjects that you have basically are having 5 different units from where you will get questions in the exam. And previously, right, it used to be like unit wise. Questions will be divided unit wise, and you need to attempt all the units, like questions from all the units. But now,
Okay.
because of COVID and because of this online thing, there is a bit of like flexibility. They will just provide you all the questions. From there you can like pick an answer. It's not like you need to attempt questions from all the 5 different units, but you are able to choose from all the given questions. Okay, so even if one unit might be, you feel like questions are difficult, you still have the option of attempting questions from the remaining 4 units. Like that is the current situation. Like this time also, like exam is going on, if you are aware. Same pattern. Fine, so we'll start with the syllabus. So in this class, you will be provided with notes for all the topics that are there in the syllabus. And that note you can refer even for your exam as well. Okay, if you have got time. Yeah, there is no restriction as such. You can read whatever you feel like. But this notes you will get based on whatever topics are there in the syllabus. It should be sufficient that also. Okay. All right, so we'll start with IPC, which is Indian Penal Code. Okay, now before starting with it, have you seen any legislation or any law yourself?
No, ma'am.
You haven't seen. So what basically is a law or a legislation? Like if we are reading about IPC, Indian Penal Code, what is a law all about? What do you think?
Law is a procedure, some common procedure for all citizens.
Common procedure for all citizens, so that we have an idea that if we are doing this thing, what will be the consequences. It's not like we are very much clueless. Only when something happens, only when the matter goes before court, we just get some decision. It's not like that. We already have some idea on what might be the consequences if we do a certain thing. So correct, that is what law is all about. And in order to ensure there is sort of similarity, right, how things are dealt with and how things go on, we need laws basically. Okay, so like you said, it's like the process, like the procedure, how things will go on, right? So I'll just open the BEAR Act as well. So any law that you are reading, right, mostly you get a PDF copy for its BEAR Act. Like the main purest form of legislation that was passed from parliament or the state legislature, that part you get here, okay, without any comments, without any sort of explanation, examples, opinions, just the main document which got approved from parliament or state legislature, that is called as BEAR Act. So this BEAR Act is a very important document that you can refer for any purpose, understanding any topic or anything.
BEAR Act, right, ma'am?
Yeah, BEAR Act.
Okay.
Okay, so for Indian Penal Code, this is how the BEAR Act looks like. BEAR Act as in from Parliament, how it was passed, without anyone's explanation, without anyone's opinion, without any example, without anything. Just the pure form of document which got approved from Parliament. This is how it looks like.
Okay.
Okay, for most of the laws, you will get a BEAR Act, which you can refer. All right. Now, in the BEAR Act, right, a lot of different provisions will be given. These things need to be arranged. It cannot be like a newspaper where everything is just dumped like a paragraph. It needs to be arranged in some order, so that we also understand it. It's given in a systematic manner. So for that, this particular legislation is divided in different chapters. Okay, like Indian Penal Code, this subject, if you look at the syllabus, you are having 5 different modules, right? 5 different units talking about different things. Like that, this legislation is also divided in different chapters. One chapter will talk about a certain thing, another chapter about certain thing. Okay, like that it is divided, and in each chapter there are different sections given. Okay, so one chapter will talk about one specific topic, and in that specific topic there will be some subtopics. These subtopics will be given in different sections. Okay, and it's important for us to remember few of the important sections, because that's what we need to write in exams. That's where from questions will be framed also. Okay, so few important sections we need to remember from that part also. Now, what is Indian Penal Code? What do you think is written in the document?
Indian Penal Code is basically for punishments what are given to the crimes or thing happens.
Crimes, punishment, yes. So any example, any sort of crime that you think is mentioned in IPC?
Yeah, I remember that Abdul Telagi Chapa Kagad case.
Okay.
It was punished from Karnataka High Court.
Okay. So what is the crime all about?
It's illegal printing of government stamp papers.
Yes, illegal printing of governmentary stamp papers, correct. Any other example or any other type of crime that you are aware is mentioned under IPC?
That criminal cases, last Indrani Mukherjee case.
Indrani, yes, correct. Anything else?
Indrani Mukherjee case and 2G spectrum Chidambaram son Karthik case.
Okay. So yes, Indian Penal Code, it provides for different types of crimes. Okay, what it provides? Definition of the crime, like what all elements or ingredients should be present to constitute that crime, plus punishment. Okay, so IPC provides for different types of crimes that may be committed in India. What are the ingredients? Like what situation will be considered as what kind of crime? Plus the punishment, plus it also talks about what kind of crime it is. Like you must have heard about bailable, non-bailable.
Yeah.
Right, like that there are other types of offenses also, like cognizable, non-cognizable, compoundable, non-compoundable. So all of that information is provided in IPC. What all different types of crimes may be committed in India, what are its ingredients or elements, what will be the punishments or consequences of committing such a crime, plus whether that crime is compoundable or not, bailable or not, and your cognizable or not. These informations are provided in IPC, Indian Penal Code. Okay. Now, Indian Penal Code, as I mentioned, it talks about different types of crimes. There are so many different types of crimes that may be committed. And in order to avoid sort of confusions, crimes are divided in different chapters, in different like classifications, like crimes committed against the state, relating to army, navy, air force, against public tranquility, again relating to public servants, against human body, human property, against women. Like that, there are different classifications. Okay, so all these different classifications are there, and based on that we have different chapters. Okay, and under that different types of crimes are also being defined or explained that we need to understand. Okay, now when we talk about laws, right, broadly laws can be divided in two classifications, two major classifications. One is called substantive law, another one is called procedural law. Have you heard these words before, substantive and procedural?
No.
No. Okay. Now, as the word itself indicates, like what is it? It is procedural, as in procedure, right? What is procedure? It's like a process that we need to follow, right? We would say, right, what is the procedure to take admission for 3 years LLB course in KSLU? There will be some process. You need to fill application, you need to pay the registration fee and everything. That is the process, how you can take admission in KSLU. After that, you can ask what is the process or procedure to appear for exams? What is the procedure to get the certificate once I have completed my course? Right? For everything, there will be a procedure that we need to follow. It cannot be any random thing like whenever we want to do whatever, we cannot do it. There is a set process for everything.
Okay.
Like that, there is a set process for law as well. As in, we know, right, that we can go to court if our rights are violated, if something happens. We cannot just wake up one fine day and go to any random court that we feel like. There is a process for that also. Which court we should be going, when we should be going, how we should be going, everything is in accordance with that process. Okay, like if I want to buy might be a water bottle, I cannot go to like a mall where only clothes are available, right? I need to go to a shop where water is available. Same ways in case of law also, if a certain type of crime has taken place, I cannot go to any random court. There will be one specific court where I should be going. And that is nothing but the procedure, the process. Okay.
Okay.
So procedural law is there and substantive law is there. Substantive as in substance, we say, right? Substance as in the main thing which is needed. Okay. So when we say substantive law, it is basically the part of law that establishes the rights, duties, and liabilities of individuals. Like if I say that, okay, killing somebody else is not a right thing to do, you will get punishment under law. You are not going to believe on my statement unless and until I tell you that in Indian Penal Code, IPC, there is a provision which says killing another human being is wrong and it is punishable. It is called the offense of murder. When I tell you that it is written in IPC, only in that case you are going to believe me, right? So that is where it is written. It is written in a substantive law. That means it tells you about your rights, about your duties, and about your liabilities. Your rights as in, if murder is mentioned as a crime, we all have a right to life. We all have a right to live peacefully, right? And we all have a duty not to kill another person, not to cause harm to another human being also. So that is nothing but mentioned in a substantive law that this is your right and this is your obligation. And if you are violating it, it will be considered as the crime of murder, which is punishable under IPC. So that is nothing but substantive law that is talking about what is a crime and what is the punishment for it. But now, fine, it was mentioned in the law, punishment is also mentioned, but still someone killed another person. So what will happen in such a case? What are you going to do? In that case, you cannot go to any random court. There will be one set process which we need to follow, and that process is mentioned in a procedural law. Okay, so there are basically two broad classifications of law. One is substantive part, another one is procedural part that will tell us which court to go, when to go, how to go, everything. Okay, this part is clear, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? IPC will be a substantive law or a procedural law?
Substantive.
Substantive law. Yes, so IPC is talking about all the different types of crimes that may be committed in India, plus the punishments. etc. So it is not definitely talking about rights, duties, and liabilities that we have. Now, substantive law consists of written statutory rules passed by legislature that govern how people should behave. So it's not some random statement that people are making. It is passed by the legislature. This coming from the parliament, or it is coming from the state legislature, that is like that we should be following. That is binding on us. It tells us how people should behave. Like we all live in a society, we have our own opinions, we have our own likings, dislikes, and everything. Conflicts are going to happen, but then how, right? What is like the minimum expected behavior that is expected out of us? We are not expected to help any person whom we feel is in need of help, but we at least should not cause unnecessary harm, unnecessary problem to people, right? Like the least minimum thing which is expected out of us, it is mentioned in law. So IPC tells us that at least do not kill people, do not cause unnecessary harm, do not create trouble. Even if you are not helping someone, even if you are not following your moral duties, fine, at least follow your legal duties. Do not cause harm, do not do this, right? So it talks about how people should behave. What is the least minimum thing expected out of us being member of a society? It also defines rights and responsibilities of citizens. It basically provides for definition of different types of crimes that may be committed. And procedural law governs the mechanism how a legal case flows, including steps and processes in a case. Step by step, how the case will take place, everything is mentioned in procedural law. So substantive law will determine the facts which will constitute a crime. It will say that, okay, for the crime of theft, there has to be criminal intention, there has to be moving of a movable thing, right? There will be certain 4 or 5 ingredients. So substantive law will tell us about what facts, what all things, what all ingredients or elements do we need to constitute a crime. But in case of procedural law, it determines how which court has jurisdiction to try which matter, which is the right court that we should be approaching, within what time we should be approaching. That process related things are given in procedural law. So broadly speaking, substantive law relates to matters outside the court, right? If there is a theft taking place, it will be outside the court, at somebody's house, at a dwelling place, it will be taking place. If there is a murder, it also will happen somewhere else. But in case of procedural law, it is about matters inside the court. How will you present the case? How witnesses will be examined, right? All those court-related matters are given in procedural law. So when we talk about examples, we have substantive laws like we have Indian Contract Act, we have Indian Penal Code, we have Income Tax Act, Karnataka Police Act. We have a lot of different legislations. Okay, so these legislations are passed by the parliament. What about this legislation? Is this also passed by parliament? What do you think?
Yeah, all are passed by parliament only. And procedural written in constitution.
Okay. So what will the state legislature do, right? In Karnataka also we have, right, state legislative assembly. What will they do?
They pass bills, and it will act as a lower house and upper house will pass the bills, and it will working as a.
Okay. So lower house, upper house, it's all about parliament. Yeah, it will happen in parliament. What about Karnataka Legislative Assembly? What will they do?
Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad.
Yeah.
Will pass the regulation or rules. It will go to the government Rajapalas and it will work in state.
Okay. So what about Karnataka Police Act? Is it passed by the State Legislative Assembly or Parliament?
No, State Legislative Assembly.
Yes, correct. So all these other legislations are from Parliament, which are
Parliament.
Yes,
Parliament.
applicable in entire India, but this one is applicable only in Karnataka, and it was not passed by Parliament. It was passed by State Legislative Assembly of Karnataka. Same ways, there are so many different laws like Karnataka Rent Act. There will be so many provisions which are applicable in Karnataka. Those are passed from the State Legislative Assembly only. Like, in fact, Karnataka State Law University, KSLU, is also established under an act, under a statute only. Okay, so that also you can see KSLU Act, that also is passed from the State Legislative Assembly. So all these are substantive law because they are telling about certain different things. Okay, it's not about the process, but certain types of crimes, some powers, functions given to people, and all that stuff is there. Okay, when we talk about procedural law, it is not written in Constitution. Okay, Constitution of India has a lot of other things, like it talks about different types of courts in India, hierarchy of courts and other things. But procedural law, right, for that we have different legislations. Like for civil and criminal, we have two major legislations. One is Code of Civil Procedure, one is Code of Criminal Procedure. For criminal matters falling under IPC, we will follow Code of Criminal Procedure. For civil matters like Indian Contract Act, we will follow Code of Civil Procedure. Like that, we have Indian Evidence Act, we have Limitation Act, Courts Fees Act, Suits Valuation Act. We have a lot of different types of procedural laws as well, which tell us about a certain process that needs to be followed in the court. Okay, is this part clear?
Yeah.
Any point you want to be repeated?
No, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay. So this is like a basic thing which we need to know before starting off IPC, because this gives us an idea on what kind of law IPC is. Why are we studying it? We are studying it to know about our rights and our obligations, and also to know what will happen if we violate our obligations. What will be the punishments or consequences for that? Okay, to understand all that things, we are studying IPC, which is a substantive law. And in case a crime takes place, in case someone violates any provision of IPC, case will be filed based on the process mentioned in the Code of Criminal Procedure, CRPC, which you will be getting in some different semester. All right, now IPC is all about crimes or different types of offenses. Okay, now what is a crime? As such, this term crime is not defined in IPC. All right, whenever you see a legislation, okay, a legislation will always have certain definitions mentioned. Okay, a legislation will start with a preamble. Usually a legislation will start with a preamble, which will tell us the purpose, like an introductory statement, why this legislation is even there. Okay, it will give us an idea on that, which is called as preamble. After that, we will have one provision that tells us about title, extent of the legislation, as in what is name of that legislation and what is the scope of that legislation. Scope as in applicability. Is it applicable to entire India? Is it applicable only to the state of Karnataka? Is it applicable only in Bangalore? Is it applicable only in maybe Indiranagar of Bangalore? What is the applicability? What is this jurisdiction where this legislation applies? Okay, so usually this is how it starts. First will be a preamble. First article will be title and extent of the legislation. And second article is usually definition. Okay, it provides for definition of different words which are used in a legislation. But there may be certain exceptions, like in case of IPC, we have definitions in different sections, like we have definition for gender, number, men and women, person, public. A lot of words are being defined. Okay, so why do you think definitions are important? Like, what do you mean by person in general? What is person?
Normal human being.
Normal human being. Anything else that you think is included under it? Person. So you are right. In general, as a common understanding, when we say person, I'm meeting a person. That means I'm meeting a human being, right? A living human being. That is what we understand. But in law, some words may be having different meanings. All right. Some words might be having 2-3 different meanings. So what meaning to consider? All right. If I'm saying one word, which meaning should you be considering? It might become confusing. That is why before starting of the legislation, only few words are defined. That we are going to use this word in this legislation, but this word will mean this only and not that. Like you said, person means a living human being, like you or me. But then what is person according to the definition given in IPC? The word person includes any company or association or body of persons, whether incorporated or not. That means when in IPC, you read this word person, it may mean living human beings like you or me. It may mean a company like Amazon. It may mean an association like some workers association. It may mean body of persons also, like some cooperative organization or some group of people. Okay, all of those things can be referred as person. Right? Because in law, person is having like a wider meaning. It means living human beings like you and me, or it means artificial persons. That means they are not persons as such, but in the eyes of law, they are considered as persons for a lot of different reasons. Okay, you will get those concepts in jurisprudence, but for now, you can understand that this word person is having wider meaning in law. It's not just living human beings like you and me, but in even KSLU is a person in the eyes of law. Even Karnataka High Court is a person in the eyes of law. Okay, and that is why it's very important to provide definitions of certain words. Okay, this is clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next, another definition which we have is related to gender. Okay, now when a certain crime is defined, okay, it becomes very much confusing if we are writing he and she both, right? When a person does this, he or she will be his or her, like that if we are writing, right? It becomes very much confusing. That is why in IPC or most of the laws, right, you will not see he or she. It simply mentions he. Okay, so both the two genders are not included. That is why it says the pronoun he and its derivatives like his, him, right? Whatever we are using, it will mean any person, whether male or female. That means when you are reading one offense in IPC, it will say when a person does this, he will have this, his. Only this male part is used, but that does not exclude women. He will mean male plus female both. Okay, just to avoid confusions, too many pronouns are not used like he, she, his, her. Too many are not used, only he, like the male version is used, but that also will include female. Okay, so that is also very important. That is why this definition is given, because otherwise people would feel like, okay, fine, IPC is only applicable to males. Women cannot do any crime because IPC has not mentioned she anywhere. But that is not the case. It is mentioned very clearly over here, right? So it becomes very important to have definition of certain words. So that is how a legislation usually starts. Preamble, title and extent or scope of the legislation. After that, we have definitions of certain different words. Okay, this part is clear, right?
Yeah.
All right. So even though a lot of words are being defined, crime as such is not defined under IPC. Even though IPC is all about different types of crimes, different types of offenses that may be committed, it still do not define what crime is. So all acts which will violate or go against the provisions mentioned under IPC or any law for that matter, that is nothing but crime. Like during COVID-19, there were so many laws being made applicable that if you are roaming outside without wearing a mask, you will be fined 500 rupees or 2000 rupees, depending on which state you are living. That also is nothing but a law because it was applicable in that moment. Roaming outside without wearing a helmet is a crime, right? Riding a vehicle without wearing helmet is a crime. Then driving a vehicle without wearing the seat belt is a crime. Why those are crimes? Because they are punishable under the law. Some provision is given, punishment is given, and we are not following that provision. We are not respecting that provision. That is nothing but crime, as simple as that. So crime is an act or omission. Now, what is act or omission? What is act?
Act means law passed.
Okay. So say in between a sentence, okay? In between a sentence, if you are saying act with A in capital letter, all right? In between a sentence, if you are seeing this word act with A in caps, only in that case, it will mean a law passed by parliament. It will mean a statute, an act like Indian Contract Act or some act. But in between a sentence, if you are seeing this word act with A in small letter, it means act, like act on this, right? Act, doing something, working on something. That act it means, okay? In between a sentence, this word act with A in small letter means doing something, doing an act. Okay, and omission means just the opposite of act. You had an obligation to do something and you did not do it. Like you had an obligation to pay income tax, you did not pay it. It is omission. You had a duty to do something, you did not do it. And your omission, your failure to do it becomes a crime. Not paying income tax, it's a crime, right? So how it is a crime? It is a crime from your omission. Same ways, murder is a crime. How is it a crime? It is a crime from your act. You had a duty not to kill someone, but you killed. That means you acted, you did something, right? And that doing itself was wrong. So it may be an act or omission. Crime is an act or omission. Like doing something, killing someone is murder, it's a crime. Same ways, not paying income tax is an omission, it's a crime, which is prohibited by law. That means law has to ask us that do not do this, it is crime. Only when it is written somewhere, it will be crime. A crime is injurious to the public. When we talk about crimes, it is considered as more severe, more serious. It is as if entire public is affected. Now, why we consider that entire public is affected? Because even though there is this crime of murder, rape, kidnapping, whatever, it is committed against one person at the end of the day. Then how is it a crime against the entire society or the public at large? it is a crime against the entire society or the public, because it is considered that state is having an obligation to protect us. Okay, the government is having an obligation to ensure our safety. And when a crime is committed, it is like we are not safe. Okay, when a crime is committed, it indicates that we are not safe and government has failed in its duty of ensuring our safety. That is why it's considered that a crime is not committed against that one specific individual, but rather it is as if crime is committed against the entire society. That is why in most of the criminal cases, not in all the criminal cases, in most of the criminal cases, you will see state being a party. Okay, it will be so maybe state of Maharashtra versus so and so, state of UP versus so and so, state of Karnataka versus so and so. Okay, but in some crimes, you will see name of parties, like a crime like check bounce. You will see name of parties. Mostly, you will see the state being a party, because it is as if crime is committed against the state or against the entire society at large. Okay, so this is why it is said that crime is like more serious or severe as compared to a civil wrong. It is punishable by state for welfare of public at large, because state had the duty of ensuring our safety, and when a crime is committed, it is as if the state failed in its part. Okay, this is clear, right?
Yeah.
Any confusion here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what is crime we understood? Now, IPC, we know it talks about different types of crimes that may be committed in India. Now, when we talk about this entire legislation, entire IPC, it can be classified into two broad parts. Okay, first is that talks about general principles and defenses. Second one is specific offenses. Now, what are general principles or defenses? Principles, you know, right? Like some rules which are applicable. Okay, some set rules that will be applied. Like gravity. Okay, it's like a principle only, right? Gravity, same rule would apply everywhere. Right? Like that, in law also we have some principles. It is like a set thing which will be applied only. All right, so like that, there are some principles which are applied in criminal law, and these principles are given in IPC. Examples are mens rea, which means guilty mind, having a guilty intention, having a wrong intention. Then common intention, like 2 or 3 people have common intention, have the common intention to cause harm or to commit a crime. Okay, common object, we have the common object of causing loss to another person, common object of causing harm to another person. It might be abetment, right? I'm creating such a situation that a person ends up committing suicide. It may be criminal conspiracy. We have planned, decided to do some crime, right? All these concepts are there, which we will get in different topics as well. Okay, so these are like general principles which are applied in different kinds of crimes, and these are provided in IPC as well.
Okay.
Plus, it talks about general defenses. Now, what defense means? Defense
for the intention punishments.
In general, the rule is that IPC is saying these are crimes. This is the punishment. Okay, that is like a set rule. If you are committing the offense of murder, this is the punishment. If you are committing the offense of theft, this is the punishment. If you are committing the offense of kidnapping, this is the punishment. Rule is set over there. But then it provides for certain general defenses. Defense means protection, right?
Okay.
Even though IPC is there, even though punishments are there, IPC also provides some protection. What kind of protection? General protection, general defenses. Anybody who can prove any of these 10 points can ask for a protection, can ask for a defense. That means even if I have committed a crime, otherwise I should be facing these consequences mentioned under IPC, I still have the option of asking for a protection or defense. I can say that, yes, I did commit this crime, but why I committed it? I had any of these excuses. You can say these are nothing but excuses. Okay, you are giving some excuse, and if you are able to prove your point, court will, like, you can escape the punishment part. You can completely escape the punishment part also. This is nothing but general defenses. That otherwise, if you are doing this, it is a crime, but if you are doing it under any of these situations, and if you can prove your point, you can even escape the punishment mentioned under IPC. That is why it is called general defenses. It's open for anybody. If you can prove, you are able to escape the punishment. Okay.
It's from section 76 to 120.
106.
Okay.
And this other part is specific offenses. So these are like limited sections. Most of the sections are relating to this part, which is specific offenses. So IPC is having a total of 511 sections. So many different types of crimes, so many different classifications of crimes are given. So these are nothing but specific offenses, which may be committed against a lot of different things, like offense against state, relating to army, navy, air force, against public tranquility, relating to public servant, relating to elections, for contempt of lawful authority, false evidence, relating to coins and government stamp, relating to weights and measures, offenses against property, offenses against human body. So many different classifications, offenses affecting reputation like defamation and all that stuff. So many different classifications are there. These are nothing but specific types of offenses that may be committed under IPC. And under all these classifications, again, we have like a lot of sections given as well. Okay, and these are just few examples. We have like a long list of different category of crimes that may be committed. Is this part clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like a brief overview on what IPC is all about. Definitely, you do not require all 511 sections. Whatever is required, that is mentioned in the syllabus. So today's class was just an introductory part where we saw what IPC is all about. But from the next class, we will be starting based on like your syllabus. Okay, like unit wise, we will be doing the portion, whatever is required.
Okay.
This part you understood, right? That they are given in different chapters, sections are there. Few sections are important. This part we need to study.